It's time to talk hockey with the Utah Mammoth and NHL insider on KSLSports.com, Cole Bagley on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mammoth take on the Maple Leafs tonight as the home stand continues. Cole Bagley with us right after practice. What's up, Cole?
Not much. How are you guys?
Cole, why is it an 8 p.m. puck drop tonight?
It's a national broadcast.
Okay.
Which I think is kind of funny because it's on like ESPN Plus and Hulu. So I don't know that I'd consider that like
it's not TNT
national broadcast, but yeah, no, it's on streaming. So, but yeah, 8 o'clock.
Late night for you. Good for you. Let me ask you before we get to this game about the latest with the lawsuit between the Utah Mammoth and the Mammoth Athletic Company. What I read this last night, and I have a little bit of a hard time deciphering things after I've watched the Jazz game. So can you explain to me what happened?
Yeah, so this is a Mammoth Hockey LLC. They're a kind of like a pristine hockey bag company. I believe that they're based out of Oregon. I think they've existed for about 10 to 12 years. Essentially, they were threatening some legal battles with the Utah Mammoth after the Mammoth revealed their new name this last summer. And I think, just trying to get ahead of it, the Mammoth actually engaged in a lawsuit with this company. And once the company received that they were notified of that lawsuit, they filed for a preliminary injunction. And basically, what a preliminary injunction is to maintain the existing state of affairs and prevent one party from causing harm to another while a legal case is being resolved. But it's an extremely difficult measure to be granted. In this case, it wasn't. This court documentation came through a couple weeks ago, and we were able to get a look at it. And basically, they've ruled in favor of the Utah Mammoth in terms of not allowing a preliminary injunction because the court favored that they were not able to determine that the Mammoth were causing a likelihood of confusion or irreparable harm to Mammoth Hockey Bags LLC. So, that's pretty much what it is. That's the gist of it. There's a whole bunch of court documentation. I think it's like 23 to 25 pages. So, that was a fun read. But, just kind of to summarize, there's still some ongoing litigation, and we'll see where it goes from here. But so far, the Utah Mammoth can continue to use their branding due to the fact that the court ruled in their favor.
Toronto tonight, Dallas Thursday, Seattle Saturday, and then Philadelphia next Wednesday. That's the remaining games in the homestand. What are realistic expectations, do you think?
Yeah, this is where I think, the homestand kind of turns it up a notch in terms of the competition. Toronto, Dallas, Seattle, and Philly, those are all really good teams that are, I believe all of those teams are actually well in playoff spots right now. Toronto has won 8 of their last 10. I believe that they might actually be the one team that's not in a playoff spot, but they are one of the hottest teams in the NHL over the last 10 games. Dallas is, a juggernaut. Seattle has come out of nowhere this season, and then Philadelphia has had a really good year. So I think realistic expectations, you got to win 2 of these next 4. I think, 3 or more would be, just gravy. That would be, an excellent way to finish the homestand. But, they really got to find a way to win 2 of these games. I'd say that Seattle and Philly are probably the easier opponents to face right now. But still, no game in the NHL is really a night off.
Cole, I don't remember exactly the date that Clayton Keller was named to the Olympic team, but over his last 3 games, he has 2 points, 3 points, and 2 points. They're all assists. He's not found the back of the net himself, but his play has taken a serious uptick since the announcement. Is that something you've seen, and do you think that's a weight off his shoulders? Yeah,
for sure. I would say that Keller is probably kind of a second half of the year type player anyways. He kind of eases into his game a little bit, and once they kind of come down the back half of the schedule, he turns it up a notch, and he kind of finds a different level. And that you can go back a couple of years even to Arizona, and that's kind of the case. And he did that last season, and he was able to put forth one of his best years. Actually, his best year statistically was 60 assists and 90 points. And as of late, no doubt, I think it's a weight off of his shoulders. There definitely was some question as to whether or not he was going to make the roster Obviously a phenomenal year last season, a really good summer, leading the United States to their first gold at World Championships at 93 years. But then it was kind of a little bit of a slower start. He hasn't been quite a point per game type player until recently. Still very good, but not excellent by any standard. But he's, I think now that that's kind of off his back, he knows that he's, earned a spot on the Olympic roster. He's going to be Olympian, and he's going to play for a very, very good U.S. team, arguably the best roster that the United States has ever submitted at an Olympics. I think it's a big achievement for him. I know it means a lot to him. I know he's been thinking about it for a long time, and so now he can just play hockey. And I think as well, even though he's made the team, I think there's still, now the question is, well, how much is he going to play? With how talented they are, especially how deep this roster runs. I'd expect that Keller was probably one of the last guys to make the cut. And so I think right now for him, now he's on the team, that weight's off, but now I think he's turned it up a notch because he realizes, I don't want to just go to the Olympics and sit in the press box. I want to go to the Olympics and, be on the ice and play and help my country win gold for the first time in what's more than 40 years. So, I think it's a combination of, he's relieved, but he's also, heavily focused on earning some more minutes in Milan.
I keep hearing rumors about the Bear and his job status as coach. Is he on the hot seat?
I think he's probably on the hot seat more than any other point in his career with the Mammoth, in his tenure with the Mammoth. And that's just simply because, this is year 5 of a rebuild, right? There's no more looking the other way. There's no more really excuses of being a young team, of being a developing team, of being, a roster that, there really weren't any expectations through the first 3 seasons because what did he have to work with? What did he have to deal with? Brand new NHL players, a whole bunch of draft picks, a whole bunch of young players. Well, now that team's starting to mature, right? Like we're starting to see the evolution of Logan Cooley and of Dylan Guenther, and even of some of the more veteran type players, guys like Clayton Keller, kind of coming into their prime, Mikhail Sergachev, taking on a different role. They've added a lot of experienced and talented depth, and guys like Nate Schmidt and Kevin Stenlund and Ian Cole and Oli Mata. Like this is a team on paper that should make the playoffs this year, and that's what they've been saying since exit interviews almost a year ago. Is that last year was about playing meaningful hockey. This year it's about playing meaningful hockey, but winning those meaningful games and getting into the playoffs. And so, I don't think that this team would be doing their due diligence if they hadn't maybe turned it up a little bit in terms of expectations. And a lot of that comes back on the coach. The front office felt that they had done kind of their job in terms of giving him a roster that could compete. And, now it's on him to deliver, right?
Dylan Guenther dropping to the third line tonight. Daniil But jumping up to the second line. What do you make of that move? Yeah,
it's an interesting one. If you were to ask me my full opinion on it, I don't know that dropping arguably your best offensive player, at least, your best goal scorer and your MVP since Logan Cooley went out of the top 6 is necessarily the right decision. I was able to ask Tourigny about it today, and they said that they're mostly what they're doing is they're looking for a spark. They're looking to help spark Guenther because he has gone a little cold over the last couple of games since they reunited him with J.J. Peterka, and obviously Barrett Hayton is centering that line. And then But is playing really well, but But is not finding the back of the net. And so they're hoping that maybe this combination, Gunther's played a lot with Jack McBain in his time in the NHL. They played, him and Logan Cooley and McBain were kind of a staple last season until later in the year when they made some more changes to the lineup. And so they're familiar. I think they play well off of each other because Jack McBain is more of a net front presence. He's a bigger guy. He can open up the space for Guenther, and obviously Gunther's more of a creator and a shooter. With But, I'm thinking that maybe they're hoping that more of that speed with J.J. Peterka will then maybe alleviate some space for him. But Tourigny did point out that that's how they're going to start the game. They'll kind of see how it goes, and if they need to adjust, they will. But it's definitely an interesting move for sure.
Cole, thank you for jumping on. As always, enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Great stuff, Cole. Thank you.
Thanks, Cole.